Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Indigenous America's Art. This is the piece Yaxchilan. I'm so sorry for my pronunciation, but you have three main art pieces within this city, structure number 40, structure number 33, and lintel number 25. And the one sculpture you see here is just an additional kind of cool sculpture I put there so you could see another relief for the piece. It is not one of College Board's images, but it is interesting to see nonetheless. So let's go ahead and take a look. These two images, again, are not College Board, but it shows you an aerial view and just an image of one of the structures on the complex. So Yaxchilan is in Mexico, built by the Mayan Empire. Some of these buildings are from the 700 or 8th century ACE. Some of them are earlier, some of them are later. In total, in this city, there are about 100 structures and monuments that you'll see. There were rival cities nearby that they were at war with, and you consistently see images of power, images of warfare, and some of their ritual practices depicted in the architecture and the monuments here. And what they're really, really known for are these really cool stone reliefs that you would find in the lintels or doorways of the structure. And so we'll be studying this piece in just a minute, which is an example of one of those lintel relief sculptures. And if you guys remember way back in the beginning of the curriculum, a lintel, remember that horizontal beam that goes across and spans the two posts? We talked about it with Stonehenge, and that's where you'd find these reliefs, and they were painted and quite intricate and really spectacular images of power and religious ritual. But I'm getting ahead of myself, of course. I also put an image of the map of the entire Yaxchilan complex. So you can see, and this, whoever put this together, I think this was on Khan Academy, did a really good job of highlighting the particular monuments and structures that we need to know. And you can see where they're located within either the central Acropolis or South Acropolis, or, just where they are within the city. And I always just find that kind of helps to understand it a little bit better. So let's take a look at the lintel. So lintel number 25 from structure 23. So again, we are looking at a building that's pretty much facing the central Acropolis. So it's up higher, looking down on the main plaza. And lintel 25 was made to commemorate Lady Zoc, and again, forgive me about pronunciation, commemorate her husband's ascension to the throne. Now, her husband was a ruler named Shield Jaguar. And it's interesting, though, that you are having her be the focus. So here's a close-up of her. Here she is in the larger main piece. But she is there instead of her husband. And we think that this is focusing on his main wife. He had many wives. Focusing on his main wife to showcase the importance of lineage, his descendants, who is going to take over the throne from him. The importance of dynasty and knowing the history of the rulers and knowing who's the father of whom and the son and how they ruled is quite important here in Yaxchilan. And you see it in the reliefs all over, just markings of different rulers and their ancestors and their descendants. So he is showing his power through his main wife here. So what you're seeing in this kind of really interesting complex relief here you see like a double-headed snake. And you have a warrior right here emerging from its mouth. You also have like a rain god or sun god named Tlaloc. Again, pronunciation, goodness. Tlaloc. And here they are both coming out of this double-headed snake, and they are towering over Lady Zoc. And what's she up to here? She has these bowls in her hand, and her head is tilted back. And the bowls here are a symbol of an important ritual in the Mayan culture here of bloodletting. And that's actually why I picked red, a soft red, as my background for this slideshow, is just a reminder of bloodletting, is that it's self-cutting. And your blood was considered your life force. And the shedding of your blood, the offering of your blood to the gods and the ancestors, was a way to communicate with them. And mostly the elite would do this, men and women, and you would cut yourself with like a stingray spine or some kind of knife made of obsidian maybe, or a needle. Cut yourself to mark important events. And then you would bleed into a bowl. So that's why she's holding the bowls here. And, when you shed blood like that, you might start to feel woozy. And perhaps this serpent that she's seeing, and the warrior and the rain war god, is a hallucination. Is this kind of vision that she's having as she is shedding her blood, cutting herself and shedding her blood. And then you have glyphs written or depicted here, sculpted in, about her husband's reign, like when he took power and so on. And those are very blocky and consistent. And they actually read backwards, like you're supposed to read it in a mirror, which is a bit unusual. And we're not too sure why that is, why it was done that way. But again, this is on the horizontal lintel beam from structure 23. Now, let's go ahead and look, sorry about that, at structure 33. Structure 33 here is in the central Acropolis. It overlooks the main plaza. It is your typical kind of structure here in the Mayan architectural era here, the Mayan Empire. And you have 3 entries. So you can see them here, 1, 2, 3, kind of like the Etruscan temple, that Temple of Minerva that you saw. 3 entrances. It's a narrow rectangular building. So you have a very smaller or narrow one-roomed space. And you are probably having this built. It's probably the most important building in the site. And it was built to honor the ruler bird jaguar. And not shield jaguar, who we were just talking about with his wife, but this is bird jaguar. And he's known for expanding Yaxchilan, building 11 buildings, 30 plus monuments. So he did a lot of structural growth of this city. And his likeness was right here in a niche in relief. And this upper area, very decorative. This is called a roof comb, and I wrote that up here for you. Roof comb typically is this upper decorative stonework, typically structure that's just added on to the top of a building. It elevates the building's height, gives it a greater sense of power and decorative opportunities. And you see them commonly in Mayan architecture there. And the roof comb in the back is supported by buttressing there. So this is structure number 33, probably built to honor ruler bird jaguar, who did so many great building work pieces and monuments within the structure. And then the last one is structure number 40 that you see here. And structure number 40 is very similar to the last one, your typical 3 doorways here. This was probably built by bird jaguar, again, in the South Acropolis area. Again, rectangular structure. You had reliefs over it and within it that was showing his victory over war captives. So he would be towering over those enemies that he defeated. And again, the Mayans here were constantly at warfare with neighboring groups. So that was typical of their everyday lives here. And you have a roof comb at the top again. You see that most of their structures, especially the more important ones, are raised up on these platforms where a singular staircase would lead up to that area. So that is structure number 40. And then one other thing I just forgot to tell you, that like the Acropolis, Greek art with their reliefs on their temples, like the Parthenon, these reliefs were painted lots of reds and blues to probably increase the readability and the understanding of it, to communicate power, I'm sure, to make it vivid and bright and really intense. So it communicated the messages that these Mayans wanted to send. So again, that is the end of Yaxchilan, with three main pieces you need to know: structure 40, structure 33, and lintel number 25 that was on structure 23. And again, a Mayan city, ancient Mayan city with over 100 structures and monuments, and most likely abandoned and taken over once the Spanish again came into the New World, the Americas. All right, take care. We'll talk to you again with the next piece.